What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Brian Costa, and happy 4th of July weekend. First of all, joining me on the show today is Pat Edwards
What's up? I'm Pat Edwards.
and John Warren.
Yo, what's up? I'm sponsored now.
We've had both of these guests on the show before.
No, you're not.
It's been plenty of fun. Pat, is this no, this isn't your first time in the basement.
No, I was here in the basement with Rob one time, and I was online a few times, and this is probably like my 7th show. Can we put like an applause track in after that?
I don't think I have the capabilities to do that, unfortunately.
Happy 4th of July, everybody. It's the 2nd of July right now, though.
Yeah, whatever. We can post this thing whenever.
I'm taking the glasses off because they hurt my eyes.
I don't blame you. All right, John, obviously, happy 4th of July to all you guys. It's going to be really great when this goes up. But, just going into it, just trying to think, how are you guys feeling?
I feel fantastic. The Red Sox are 20 games up. Aaron Rodgers still has not left the Packers. The Celtics have been out of it for about 3 weeks now, and I haven't heard the word Bruins since May. Life's going great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of my friends just got sponsored by Barstool, so actually 2 of them. So pretty happy for them, and hopefully I'm on the right track. Ready to enjoy this long weekend.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a second. The main reason I kind of found this episode to be interesting is, I don't think that we've ever had you guys on the same episode, at the same time. I've had you guys, I've had you guys individually as members, but I don't think that the two of you we've had on at the same time. I know that in the quarantine special we did, way back like last April or so, you guys were on that, but you guys were on it separate times. How does it feel to, finally be on with each other? Because I guess this was, for a while, this was actually something we were all trying to do with each other. We've always kind of wanted to do like a podcast, with each other, an episode with all three of us. And here we are.
You were scared because you're outnumbered now.
Yeah.
I've been on, y'all just been sleeping, but we'll just leave that for the folks that watch this fall.
There's 2 of us. There's 1 of you.
And let the shit show begin. So obviously, the first thing I wanted to get started on with the show tonight, kind of getting into it before we really started with anything. I know we did go to Polar Park. We went to a Worcester Red Sox game, got to go check those guys out. All in all, it was a pretty great experience. What did you guys think of the going for the first time? Because I had been a couple times before this, but for it being your first time going, what did you think of
They lost.
Yeah, the defense wasn't there, but there was a few players, that shined. And then again, when a team's usually good in the majors, their farm system isn't the best, so kind of reflected there. But overall, 7 out of 10.
I will say it had been far too long since I went to a ballpark and spent $14 on a slice of pizza and a can of lemonade.
Yeah, no, that definitely made me miss some things there. All in all, though, I think that Polar Park is a really nice ballpark for what it is. I mean, you kind of saw at the local Worcester restaurants, everything it had to offer. It was really nice, I think.
Oh, big local guys. I love everything local. I love they incorporated the local pizzeria and bar into one of the stations. It's sponsored by Polar Beverages. The park's named after it. They got a bunch of different promotions going on. All the signs seem to be local. It's great. You can look out and see the city.
Mm-hmm.
Worcester hasn't had a team in like 130 years or something.
Yeah.
To finally have one back and make it all about Worcester, it's great.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the views are incredible. They didn't win, so we didn't really get to see fireworks, but no, it's a really beautiful stadium, and just gonna double down on what Pat said. I loved all the local food around there, and it was great. I mean, the Wonder Bar Pizza is a great place to go. And I'm sure the other places in there, especially they had like the whole bar place, which is really nice. The outdoor seating is really, really cool. We got to go check that out. And then they have a Guinness bar as well, all the way up the top.
Yeah,
so
it's really nice.
well put together, and it's perfect for the fans.
No, all around it's really nice. And I mean, they're still like adding things to it as we speak. Like, I swear to God, every time I'm going there, like, they're adding more things. I mean, the first time I went there, obviously it was during COVID. So, it was, they've obviously added the capacity since then. And, to hear a ballpark almost pretty much at full capacity again was something I was kind of really missing from COVID. But the last time I was there, they now have like kind of like standing room, kind of like grass seatings, which people eventually will be able to put like probably bring like beach towels, watch the game from there. That wasn't actually something they had the last time. So going into it, I really hope that they continue to add more stuff. It looks like it's coming together more and more. But just adding like little pieces like that, it's gonna make it. I think it's gonna make for a really good experience at the ballpark,
Yeah, every time I've gone, I've seen things that I'd never seen there before too, Brian.
like a ballpark.
Yeah, it was great. I didn't know what to expect. I thought we were going to a hockey game, but we didn't. Um, I'm excited to see what the final product is. I'm excited to see the Woo Sox finally figure out how to put some wins together. Um, yeah, I think the future is bright for Worcester and Worcester baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Very much.
No, I mean, yeah, no, I would agree too. Now, I know you kind of had some emphasis, and you were kind of like hesitating there when you were saying Woo Sox. We've talked about it. You're not the biggest fan of that name.
No, it was the Pawtucket Red Sox for the longest time.
Better
They
known
were
as the
called
Paw
the Paw
Sox.
Sox. The park's literally called Polar Park after a polar bear. Why do we not call it the Worcester Paw Sox? We have all these things to commemorate old Worcester teams, all these things to commemorate the Paw Sox. We named the park after a bear. Why can't we call it the Worcester Paw Sox? Like, it would just make so much more sense. It sounds better than Woo Sox. It's better than a smiley face as the logo, although that also does have some local flair to it. Why is it not the Worcester Paw Sox? I don't understand. It makes sense. You can pull it off. Why didn't we do it?
Yeah. No, I really am kind of trying to figure that out myself. I'm not too sure as to why they did it. John, you want to add something on that?
Not really. I just kind of wanted to hold the mic, but yeah, I would agree with what Pat said. I mean, the smiley face, it was invented in Worcester by some guy. I don't know the actual name of the guy, but he pretty much gave it away for free.
He met Forrest Gump in the movie.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, yeah, so pretty much they really wanted to pretty much focus and like centralize the whole local aspect. So when they brought that all in, and I really do enjoy how they do that. I wish they did that like more parks and places, really just focused on the locals, like the local food, having local restaurants in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, can't really complain. It's only going to go up, and I see a bright future.
That local flair is definitely something that I think really makes the park unique as to what it is. But I know that we grew up going to Paw Sox games. We grew up going to McCoy Stadium doing that. I'm pretty sure all three of us went at one point. I remember when I was like 10 years old and doing karate. I think I did like a karate demo there where I was like on the field like kicking around like looking like an idiot. But all in all, what will you guys probably miss about the old McCoy Stadium?
Brian, you did the same thing when we were there the other day.
Shut up.
Another thing I like is that they have Wormtown Brewery on tap, which I think is funny because Sam Adams just became the official alcoholic beverage of the Boston Red Sox. Sam Adams is brewed in Boston. Budweiser is not. I don't know why at the same time that this is happening, the Paw Sox can immediately get a Worcester alcoholic beverage to be their sponsor, but that's just another emphasis of the local flair. It took long enough for Sam Adams to be the representative of the Red Sox as a hometown brand. The Woo Sox went right in with Wormtown, but I will miss McCoy. I feel like
right, for another place.
not for the Paw Sox.
I don't
Woo
know what
Sox,
they're gonna
but
do there.
They're keeping it operational though, right? Or no?
I mean, I don't think with the Red Sox facility
No.
though.
not to the extent, and that's part of when you wanted to go see the Red Sox, you went to Fenway. When you wanted to go see Little League, or high school, you go to your town, Little League fields, high school fields. When you wanted to see summer baseball around here, I feel like it was McCoy Stadium. You wanted to see good, cheap summer baseball, you went to McCoy Stadium, and that isn't going to be there anymore. Or on the Cape. But McCoy's not going to be there anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for Worcester, but there will always be a place in everybody's hearts for McCoy, I think, at least us.
I'll miss McCoy, but I will definitely say this: I'm not going to miss. Obviously the drive to here versus going to McCoy is much. Definitely a better drive in comparison. But just all in all, too, I'm also probably not going to miss. The walk the walk to and from the park after the game is concluded. I think that was definitely the worst part of the experience. Once you were in the park, it was a beautiful park. I mean, for what it was. Once you were in there, great game, great whatever. It was just getting in there that always, I think, scared the crap out of people.
Pawtucket is not known as the nicest city, but then again, neither is Worcester.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you really need to say anything else other than that.
Neither one are bad cities, but to me, it's just Worcester's closer. Worcester is my city. Pawtucket wasn't. I'll miss McCoy. I'm sure Pawtucket's hurting, but very excited to have Worcester baseball. It's a long time coming. First time in my lifetime, my parents' lifetime, my grandparents' lifetime, great grandparents' lifetime. That's how far back we're going. It's a long, long time coming.
That's wild. Now, I mean, going into it and looking at everything like that, one of the key things, on the field that we got to see for the Worcester Red Sox, was Jarren Duran, and I had gotten to see him in one game prior. The second time I went to Polar Park, he actually wasn't there. He was actually, I think, on the Team USA team doing some stuff over there. But
yeah, he's an Olympian too.
Yeah, so he was going to go do some stuff over there, but we ended up coming back here. I'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that in a second, Pat. We were talking about it there. He shows up to Polar Park, and he manages to hit 2 home runs in the same game. Now, I mean, he was just absolutely launching the crap out of the ball when we saw him there. That first home run on the second pitch was an absolute bomb, and then he had a second one in the ninth, which really got whoever was basically left in the park on their feet.
Yeah, we gotta get those guns to Boston. He's kind of a new name. He hasn't been around that long. There are guys like Jeter Downs came in a trade with Verdugo. Everybody knew Jeter Downs. Duran's a rising star. He's going to do great for Team USA in the Olympics if they actually had chosen him for Team USA for the Olympics. But that'll probably be to Boston's benefit. Hopefully, we can get him up early and experiment. You remember Mercedes just got sent down from the White Sox?
Really?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
Just this morning. He was hitting 159 in the month of June.
Wow.
So we can find out with Jarren Duran if he comes up, whether he's good, whether he needs to get sent back down to work on things, whether he can stay elite at the level, or whether he needs to make adjustments down in the minors before September rolls around, before playoff roster. Because right now, the Red Sox are 20 games above 500. We're on pace to win 100 games plus. Nobody thought we were going to be there at the start of the season.
No.
We are 3 games above the Rays for the division and a few games above that for the wild card. Right now, it looks like the Red Sox have a very real chance to make the playoffs, and we've been saying that we need somebody to be the leadoff hitter. Kike Hernandez seems to be moving into that role. He's hit 3 home runs in the last 5 games out of the leadoff spot. But Jarren Duran could add that little extra muscle, a la Jacoby Ellsbury in
2011.
In 2007.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like Jacoby Ellsbury 2011 when he hit 30 bombs, but I know what you're talking about. You're talking about him coming up as a rookie and
coming up as a rookie, doing some damage, making some noise, and hopefully giving us a boost coming into the playoffs. It looks like that will be helped since he will not be in the Olympics, but it's a travesty that he's not going to be an Olympian because from what I saw the other day, he's a guy that could carry the U.S. above powerhouse teams like the Dominican or Japan and so on.
Yeah, I mean, he just looks like an absolute beast. I hope that he can get up here because, I do like the Jacoby Ellsbury comparison. I think he's Jacoby Ellsbury, at his ceiling. I think, I think he could be a 2011 Jacoby Ellsbury every single year if that's what he could be. I think that is his ceiling as a player because, he has the defensive range. I think he's a little slower than Jacoby. That's not a diss on Jarren, but that's just like saying that Jacoby was insanely fast.
Jacoby has the club record for stolen bases.
Yeah, like I mean, it's not really a diss on Jarren. It's just like Jacoby was doing insane stuff when he was here in Boston.
Yeah, it happens.
But yeah, that's just kind of what happens. Now, the one thing that Jarren definitely hasn't beaten is the power department. I mean, my God, he stands in the back of the box, but he absolutely crushes the ball. And I mean, we saw it on that first thing. Now I know in Worcester, it's kind of like a jet stream up there, and if you get the ball up high enough, it just travels and will wisp out of the stadium. But he can really get a hold of the ball, and I think Fenway Park will play great with his swing.
Imagine Jarren in 2019 with the juiced balls.
Yeah.
That guy could hit like 40 or 50 home runs a year, and now they push the balls back, and it's not going to happen. But he was like 3 years too young, and he could have been fun to watch. He still will be, but
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm still looking forward to seeing this guy play. I mean, like, yeah, like we watched one game, the guy hit 2 bombs, and like I'm really excited. That's pretty good, especially off that second pitch. I mean, that shows a lot of confidence going after it right at the second pitch. I mean, he took a hack at one, fouled it off, I'm pretty sure, and then the second one he just launched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, showing a lot of confidence up there, especially he was looking good in the leadoff spot. I wouldn't be surprised too if they just pull him up, and I also wouldn't be surprised if they let him sit and wait and develop a little bit more. But I would expect to see him pulled up.
I want to see him sooner rather than later at this point. I mean, we were talking about the struggles out of that leadoff spot. Again, Kike's been, coming alive as of late, but if Jaron could be that guy for us, it would definitely, be
Even if
the
he's
difference
only
maker.
playing a couple games too. I mean, like he's still sharing spots with Kiki, and he's just like messing around there. I mean, I could still see it as a very like reliable option, especially like we're gonna get really hot. I think down the road, especially with Sale coming back shortly and everything else going on.
Yeah, that will be something to look for.
are the Red Sox too hot right now? 7 in a row. We just swept a homestand. We swept the Yankees for the second time this year. We're 6-0 for the third time in franchise history. Then we beat the Royals 15-1 the other day. Danny Santana had a day, and everybody's been complaining because he's hitting below the Mendoza line. But are we too hot right now?
I think we're gonna cool off a little bit, but I mean, I wouldn't really expect us to cool off way too much because hopefully, like, we'll still like stay in the winning column. I don't see us really slipping below 500 at this point. But I see us like down the stretch in the second half, cooling off a little bit towards the middle and picking it right back up towards the end. Personally, because that's how it started at the beginning of the season. I mean, we were super hot and then we cooled off a little bit and then we got hot right again. And I think it's going to repeat.
Yeah, it definitely ebbs and flows like that. I think that, the All-Star game is going to be kind of one of those dividing lines. I think, getting back into it because, for what it is, the All-Star break, it's what, like 3-4 days or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not the shortest, it's not like the longest of breaks, but it is a break. I mean, guys that don't make it will go on vacation during their All-Star break. They'll like, take trips down to wherever and they'll like, get away for a little bit.
There are a lot of guys that don't do the home run derby in part to recharge. And in some ways, that might help somebody like Verdugo, who's younger, who didn't make it. But that would also be a perfect time to bring Jaron Duran up. Have a few days, regroup. You're in the second half of the season. I like to think officially we are on the second half of the season. We played game 82 last night.
Yeah.
But that's officially you're in the dog days of July and August. You are about to hit the trade deadline. You know who's a competitor and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Nationals in 2019 were competing then. You know what the deal is. You can see the finish line for the regular season, and it's nonstop.
Mm.
You don't have 2 days off in a row from then on out. That's a perfect time to bring up Duran.
Yeah, I mean, just to get another body up there, it will definitely be of assistance. I'm wondering who will probably go in his place. It really, that kind of is all up in the air right now. But some certain things that we do know going on at the major league level is that Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers are both going to be starters in the All-Star game. It's big scoops. I'm really excited for this. I mean, just to see, half the infield be Red Sox players, it kind of reminds, I mean, not as drastically, but remember back in 2016 where like.
Is this the first time, I think, in franchise history that we have 2 infielders starting?
It's the first time in franchise history, at least, that we have a third base and shortstop starting.
Because we may have had like,
I think
some
David Ortiz might have played first at one time.
Something. There might have been like some sort of a matchup or whatever happened, but actually, no. I think 2016. I think we had like it might have been like Pedroia and Bogaerts might have been the matchup that it was in the infield because I remember back in 2016 it was like what Ortiz, Pedroia, Bogaerts, Bradley Jr. was an all-star, Mookie was an all-star.
Yeah, we had 5.
We had Ortiz, JBJ, Xander, Mookie, and
Stephen Wright.
Stephen Wright was an all-star.
Stephen Wright was an all-star.
Rick Porcello won the Cy Young that year and was not an all-star. All I remember was that the Cubs fielded the entire National League infield.
And the Red Sox pretty much did the entire American League.
But the Cubs were just unstoppable that year.
No, it was
Ricky Porcello.
Didn't make the All-Star game.
I know. Still won it.
Some may say that he shouldn't have won the Cy Young. By some, I mean Kate Upton. But he did, because he's the best pitcher in the league that year.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him that year. I was really lucky. I saw him in one of his first appearances. Me and my dad, we were really surprised. I think he started off like 4-0 or something. And we were like, "What?" And we saw him against the Blue Jays, and he absolutely dominated. Pitched into like the 8th.
One thing that I think was interesting about that, so Rick Porcello won the Cy Young that year with a 3.15 ERA.
Yeah.
The league leader in the American League was Aaron Sanchez, I believe.
Yeah.
He had 3 on the dot. Right now, as it stands, just the other day, Jacob deGrom's ERA went above 1 for the first time all year.
It's insane.
The difference. We're talking about Stephen Wright made it with, I think it was 3.33.
Probably
ERA.
something like that.
Nady Eovaldi's right in that neighborhood. Never even got looked at for the All-Star game.
No.
Rick Porcello won with 3.15. That would not fly this year. It's
No,
amazing. The ERAs have dropped by half.
It definitely wouldn't fly, but I think what made Rick Porcello so special that year was I think just seeing the 20 in the win column, I think that did a lot for him, frankly. At least me personally, I think that helped.
It was grit. Wins are an underrated stat. They're not very emblematic of a pitcher. I think that Jacob deGrom has proved that. You can be a good pitcher. You don't need to have 20 wins to be a good pitcher.
Mhm.
And you can be a good pitcher or a subpar pitcher and have 20 wins. But at the end of the day, you're playing to win. JV said it best. You're playing to win. I want to get the win because that means that I went out and helped my team win. I can have a good spin rate. I can have a good FIP. I can have a good ERA. I can have a good case for every 9 innings. At the end of the day, if you don't get the win, it doesn't matter if it's 11-10 or 1-0. It didn't matter.
What's deGrom batting right now, too?
Like 400, I think, right now. It's like actually
8,000.
No, it's absurd. Like Jacob deGrom is the
really
best
is.
offensive and defensive player on the Mets right now. Like it's absurd.
Jacob deGrom.
He was drafted like 200. It was
Yeah.
late.
He was drafted as a shortstop.
Jacob deGrom looks down on Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's just been absolutely dominating this year. One of the, kind of looking at it, you were kind of talking with me before the show. You don't really like the Shohei Ohtani, or at least the way MLB covers him. Dude.
I like Shohei Ohtani. I like Vladimir Guerrero. I like Mike Trout. I like Fernando Tatis. They're some of the best players on earth. But that's all you ever hear about. You never hear about anybody else, which is Jacob deGrom is the best baseball player on earth right now.
Mhm.
If you look at the MLB's Instagram, you would think that Jacob deGrom is in half of what Shohei Ohtani is, but he has a better ERA. He has a better average. He's playing far better than Shohei Ohtani
He has
is.
more home. I'm joking.
Shohei Ohtani has a lot of home runs, but he's hitting 270.
How's the team looking?
His ERA is 360. He's playing on a team that is below 500. Jacob deGrom is on a team that leads the division right now. Nobody says anything about Jacob deGrom, but there are even more people.
The Mets are in if the playoffs ended, I think they're in 3rd right now.
Yeah, they would make the playoffs. They're leading the NL East, but nobody talks about it. And even more than Jacob deGrom, Corbin Burns started off the season with a 58-0 K to walk ratio.
Mhm.
Your brother wasn't even sure what team he played. You can't sit there and say that the MLB is marketing their players well, or at least better. They're marketing 4 or 5 players well, but there are 30 hub cities in the MLB. You can't market 4 or 5 players well and say that you're marketing your players well. You're marketing a player in San Diego. You're marketing a player in LA. You're marketing a player in these major markets. Nobody's ever heard of Matt Chapman. Nobody's hearing about Jesse Winkler because he plays in Cincinnati. But Cincinnati made the playoffs last year. They had a Cy Young winner last year. Joey Votto's in Cincinnati. He just got his 1,000th RBI. I barely saw anything about that. And we have an MVP candidate over in Cincinnati. I haven't heard a word. All these stars, Anthony Rizzo, no idea that he was an all-star candidate this year because nobody ever talks about the Cubs anymore.
No.
Because they're not the favorite son in the MLB, and it drives me crazy because you're marketing these guys terribly.
No, I mean, that's always been, MLB's, just grave sin. They've never been able to effectively market their guys. And, it took a while, but I think it got to the point where they literally couldn't ignore it anymore. One of the examples of that, that you were talking about, we were trying to talk about, when we were at the Woo Sox game, was Kyle Schwarber. He, it got to the point where his stats became absurd. And yeah, just like lean over if John wants to say anything there. But it got to the point where it was absurd with it got absurd with Kyle Schwarber. I mean, I looked up the stats and I had to write them down because like I couldn't believe them. But in the month of June, he had 15 home runs, which broke the record for most home runs by a leadoff hitter in a single month. And then he also hit 12 home runs during a 10-game span, which tied Albert Bell in 1995 for the most home runs within that span.
Albert Bell.
You don't know who Albert Bell is?
No, I actually don't.
One of the best power hitters of the 1990s.
Okay, well, the more you know, guys.
Jesus Christ.
Well, apparently that stat's meaningless.
Yeah.
But with Schwarber, you have the Nationals are a team that's getting hotter. Right now, they wouldn't make the playoffs. But they have Kyle Schwarber, who's having one of the best streaks of all time over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, he's like Barry Bonds and then some.
You have Max Scherzer, who's gunning for his 3,000th K. He's a Hall of Fame candidate. He's a Cy Young competitor. Haven't heard anything about him either. You have Trey Turner, just hit for the cycle for the third time in his career on his birthday, who's a perennial MVP candidate. One of the most valuable guys on the 2019 World Championship team. Never made the All-Star team. You never hear anything about him. He's fast as hell. You don't market the Nationals, but you market LA and you market Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, and they're below 500, but you won't market these three superstars, these studs over in Washington. I think the best example is if you look in Miami. In the NFL, there's the Miami Dolphins, who are a subpar team. But can you name me one player on the Miami Dolphins?
Tua
Tagovailoa, or however you pronounce that name.
Tungo Viola.
Yeah,
There we go. I knew I butchered that.
There's lefty.
Thanks, John.
You hear about him all the time.
Yes.
When was the last time you heard the name Sandy Alcantara?
Exactly.
That guy is a Cy Young candidate, but we're only talking about a select few people. That's the problem with marketing, because you can tell me who Tua is. You can tell me what team he's on. You can tell me what position he plays, how he plays, everything for a subpar Miami team. But you can't tell me anything about Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah.
Who was an all-star in 2019, helped guide Miami to the playoffs last year, and now is a Cy Young candidate. You can't tell me anything about him.
Yeah, I was looking up Sandy Alcantara going into I was playing MLB The Show, and I saw him listed, and for some reason I thought he was like a throwback player for a sec, because I thought his name just sounded older, but then I was like, oh, this guy's actually still in the league right now. I was like, wait a minute, and like he's young too.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even realize who it was. I don't even know who I thought I was thinking about, but it didn't. It was not him. I thought this guy was retired.
Yeah, it happens a lot. And then also kind of to add on to Pat's, I think the NFL also just has a bigger market, to be honest. And well, Tua was literally like a first round pick like a couple years ago. I think that also just could be because of that as well.
Because the MLB doesn't know how to market its players beyond its 4 or 5 superstars. Because Sandy Alcantara should be marketed right now. It doesn't matter. Jacob deGrom was drafted as a position player late in the round. You can name who he is only because he's won a few Cy Youngs and because he's the greatest player on the planet.
Yeah, I would
Sandy
agree.
is one of the, but you have no idea who he is because he isn't the favorite son, and he isn't one of the top 4 or 5. That's the problem. When people say baseball is dying, that's the reason why they might be able to back up that statement.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now looking at that, I mean, the NFL does a really good job marketing regardless. They always show that. But yeah, I mean, it is very interesting in the MLB. I mean, I would support Pat and definitely say how we need to kind of expand on the marketing in that, especially because not that it's a dying breed and it's a dying sport. It's more just the fact that like not enough people like can go out there and see it and really know who's who. More because I mean, well, like you think of baseball, like I was talking to my friends about it, and he was like, Mike Trout. And I was like, yeah. I was like, who else? And they were like, couldn't name you another guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's stuff like that you got to really think about. I mean, yeah, but going back, though, the Trey Turner, I mean, he is ridiculously fast. Like,
yeah,
that cycle, I was watching that game, a couple clips. That was unbelievable. He's really something. I always thought he was going to be a mid of the run player, but he really kind of just blew up
No, he really did blow up
this
and
year, especially.
No,
He's
yeah.
really been carrying.
Mhm. Yeah, and I did want to go. I did, and going off that and staying and kind of going back to the Nationals, I did want to go back to Schwarber real quick because, man, it is really like, at least right now he is.
It's historical.
Well, it's historical, but it's also now really looking like he's like the Cubs are, looking at, like, he's turning into the guy that they were dreaming that he would become. He's the guy that that they thought he would be back in 2016 and was back
Cubs
in
are hot.
2016.
Well, what's ironic about it is that while Kyle Schwarber has gotten this hot, the Cubs have fallen out of first place.
That is true, but team sport, and at the same time, I mean,
But I mean, when you're doing
Anthony
something
Rizzo
like when
is
you're doing
so
something
good.
like this, though, the team. I mean, Kyle Schwarber is the Washington Nationals outside of Trey Turner and those guys right now. Like, in terms of their offense, Kyle Schwarber is the offense right now.
Listen, if you need a lightning rod to kick you in the ass, hitting 16 home runs in 18 games, that'll do it.
Yeah, because I think he just hit another one. I think like July 1st, because he has 25 home runs right now. Unfortunately for him, I think he got hot at like probably in terms of All-Star wise. I think it was at the worst time because I think the voting has already been underway, and maybe he'll make it if a guy drops out and like they need a guy to fill in because if you do, like, he's the perfect candidate to do that for it, and I think he'll do great in it. But man, like, I remember being like, what did he come up in, like 2015 or something, when he probably first got started with the Cubs?
Yeah, it was sometime around then. He was supposed to be a phenom. He got hurt. He came back in a monster World Series.
Yeah.
And then all he could do was hit home runs.
Mhm.
But he couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
For a few years, that's why the Cubs let him go. And now all of a sudden, all he's doing is hitting home runs.
It's
That's everything he could be doing.
Yeah.
Chicago, he was batting below 200.
Exactly.
so he did end up, he did end up regressing, and they were kind of just like, all right, like, he doesn't really have it anymore. But I remember Kyle Schwarber back in 2015 when he hit that absolute nuke onto the scoreboard at Wrigley. Do you remember that homer?
That guy has always been capable of smashing the ball into the grandstands. It's just a matter of how often can he do it. And right now he's doing it every single at bat.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know why pitchers are still throwing to him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was seeing him do that, but something that kind of did interest me was MLB on YouTube. They posted a clip of the 2 home runs, but then they also posted some other stuff from the game. I think it was June 29th. I think he had it was June 29th. He went 3 for 5 that day. Two of them were home runs, but then in like the later innings or so, he actually went against the shift and ended up getting on base with it. So, while the majority of it, and I will say the vast majority of it is power right now, I think he's hitting just a tick above 250 right now. So just a tick above what is typically, average for a hitter. He's doing that, and
But
yeah,
to that extent, it's the same thing. It's kind of opposite of Yerman Mercedes. He was rookie of the year candidate when he was hitting 3-something in April, May. And then he started hitting 160, and now he's in the minors.
yeah,
The difference is Kyle Schwarber started out hitting poorly, and now is mashing the ball, and he's hitting 3-something the past 15 games.
exactly. Yeah, I wonder. I just quickly on your Mercedes. I really wonder if like I wonder if like that was just like a rookie kind of just getting hot and having his thing, or if did Tony La Russa like actually kind of get in his head and
I don't buy that. Listen, you don't win close to 3,000 games, 5 pennants, and 3 World Series by accident. I think he needs to go down and get some readjustments. I think that there's a cold streak. Maybe he was hurt a little bit by the coaching, but this was probably inevitable. He's going to go down, retool. I think he could come back at the end of the year.
Mhm.
Chicago is also in the playoff race. They're continuing to lead their division fairly handily over the Indians. So it looks like we'll get a chance to see them in October. I think it's hard to blame La Russa. I mean, you turn the White Sox into a competitor. Then you left, turn the A's into a dynasty. Then you left, turn the Cardinals into a dynasty. Then you were gone for 8 years, helped the Red Sox win a World Series behind the scenes, and now you're turning the White Sox back into a competitor. You can't sit there and say the guy is a bad manager. Is he old school? Sure. Would I have handled the situation with Yerman Mercedes and defending him and the unwritten rules of baseball differently? Yes. But you can't sit there and say that a guy with the second most managerial wins of all time is a bad manager.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'll say this. Yermin probably did get a little power happy at there. I think just him absolutely launching the crap out of the ball. He probably got a little too confident with it. And then once it came along, he was trying to do anything he could to replicate it. And it's probably just, some fundamental stuff. He probably just has to go down and get readjusted and, face that lower level pitch and get his confidence back. And, I hope that he can, be back up and performing again.
I almost think it's an insult to say that Tony La Russa is at fault for Yerman Mercedes going back down, because that's insinuating that Yerman Mercedes can only hit crap 3-0 pitches that are unwritten rules. The guy hit well enough to compete before, and it's not that all of a sudden he only has to pitch at, or he only has to swing at good offerings by the pitchers. So I think it's kind of offensive to Yerman Mercedes to say that it's Tony La Russa's fault.
Mm.
I think the guy was hot and now he's cold. He's got to retool, work on fundamentals.
It happens all the time.
It happens all the time, especially for young guys. Get back up, come back in September in the playoff race, come back in October looking for a pennant, and get hot again.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But then also going back to the Tony La Russa thing, I mean, he is old school and the game is changing, and that's, clear to see. And Tatis has kind of been the face for that, I would say, as marketed. But I mean, honestly, like I would say, like it's not like it's kind of merging, and the old school and new school are kind of like hitting that crossroads right now. But personally, I think Tony La Russa is great. Like I mean, stats don't lie at the end of the day. So I mean, he's doing great.
He has more wins than anybody else in the league, except for a manager that was the only guy that could fire himself. Like, he's the most consistent winning manager in the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. And then there's also just like the fact that I mean, he handled one situation wrong, which like happens, but at
Yeah.
the same time like that's really I think like it got really blown up I think for no reason. I mean, personally, like I thought that could have been handled behind the scenes just a lot easier instead of him trying to go out and make it blow it up something that really it should not have been, but I mean, personally, like I think they're both going to be okay. I think he just has to go down, rehash it out a little bit, like we were all saying. And then LaRusso, I mean, it's just doing LaRusso.
Mm.
Well, and Davey Johnson had problems with Dwight Gooden. Still had a ring. Still won Managers of the Year awards. Lou Piniella had problems with that problematic lady who used to own the Cincinnati Reds. Still won a ring. Still won Managers of the Year awards. If you're producing and you have a rift within the clubhouse, you can get past that as long as you keep producing. We've seen that with La Russa. We've seen that with Piniella. We've seen that with David Johnson. As long as the White Sox keep winning and Yerman can fix his problems, which I hope he does, because he was fun to watch at the start.
He really
and I'm
was.
hoping we could have another 15 years of that. But if he can fix his problems and the White Sox keep winning, there was no reason for any of that. Because
Yeah.
you can get past the rift in the clubhouse. It's not unprecedented.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, another thing I kind of wanted to touch on real quick was, we were talking about, some, previously we were talking about, some kind of storylines that, kind of were getting forgotten, mostly because of the fault of the MLB. One of them you had talked to me about when we were at Polar Park. It was Trey Mancini, when, and the story of him, returning from his cancer diagnosis and now participating in the home run derby, just
I forgot about
kind of the allure of that and everything that's kind of had involved.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's my point. What more marketable than a guy who had cancer, who never thought he'd play again? He's coming back. He's competing. Like, he's playing well, even if the Orioles aren't. He's the face of the franchise now that Scope is gone, that Chris Tillman is gone, Buck Showalter, Manny Machado. This guy is the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
This guy is competing in a home run derby. A year or two ago, this guy was undergoing cancer treatment. That's the comeback story of, how often do you get to see things like that?
That usually wins that usually wins every single SB and any single movie that's written about that usually wins like whatever Oscar that's going to win.
That is a Hollywood script.
Yeah. Like
we're hearing crickets from the MLB about it.
Yeah, it should be like, the face of everything, but when as soon as MLB sees Baltimore, they shy away.
Trey Mancini has grit. grit is marketable, grit is admirable. Trey Mancini should be one of the faces of the league. Instead, we get to see Shohei Ohtani hit 270 and Fernando Tatis make 15 errors, while both are third place or lower. Ironically, right where the right where the Orioles are.
I was about to say
also not competing.
I was about to say also both are 1 and 2 in All-Star voting.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Vlad Guerrero, not making the playoffs if the season ends today. Shohei Ohtani, not making the playoffs. Season ends today. Mike Trout, same team, not making the playoffs. The season ends today. Fernando Tatis
has a shot.
Last wild card team. So why is Trey Mancini getting looked over? Because his story is far better than anybody else's. And that's not a shot at anybody else. They're all talented ball players. They're all likable. They are all marketable. But you have to look past those 4 or 5 guys and see that we have the story of the year here. We have a bunch of other really talented guys that are going to the Hall of Fame, going after milestones, competing. They're good in the clubhouse. Their teams are winning, and we're hearing nada about them. And it's the travesty.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous because I did want to bring that up with you because I remember you brought that up to me at the Woo Sox game. I thought that was a pretty good idea because I didn't realize that Trey was doing well enough to do that. I knew he was I knew that he was having success, but enough to get in the home run derby, and the home run derby kind of has. It hasn't gotten to the point of like absurdity that the NBA dunk contest has gotten to, but I mean, I remember when they brought in Vlad Guerrero Jr. when he had barely even played yet, and he earned his stripes. I mean, I think got snubbed by losing to Pete Alonso there, but because he hit 90 home runs in that thing, and it was absolutely absurd. But I didn't realize that he was doing good enough to even warrant a reaction to it.
If you hit 1 home run in professional baseball, that's impressive. If you hit 1 home run in the majors, it's even more impressive. If you hit 1 home run after what he went through, but he's not hitting 1 home run, he's hitting enough to qualify for the home run derby, and he could very well win this thing. Who knows?
Is Pete Alonso repeating or no?
I think Pete Alonso is going to go.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he's going.
So I was gonna say he's having a pretty solid like repeat season after this.
No, Pete Alonso's having a great year himself.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, not discounting that.
The Mets are having a great year. Who saw that one coming? But who knows about it?
Despite Lindor.
Yeah, despite Lindor kind of being really disappointing, the Mets actually are having a nice season.
Hey, everybody gets disappointed by players after they sign huge contracts.
Hey,
I think
about the Mets,
David Price is one of the biggest examples. Nobody liked him after 2016. Then he won in 2018.
That's true. Speaking about the Mets, happy belated, Brian.
Yeah,
happy
belated Bobby Bonilla Day. What is it? $1.2 million going to
1.3, I think.
I think it's like 1.2, 1.3.
It's going 1.19.
Yeah, that's why I was doing 1 point. That's why I was rounding to 1.2.
It's the best day of the year. It should be a national holiday.
I mean, it's
in Canada.
Yeah, it's Canada Day for many, but in Baltimore and New York, it is Bobby Bonilla Day because I didn't realize that Bobby Bonilla, from 2004 to I think 2015 or so, he was also getting a $500,000 check from the Orioles on deferred payments.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. He really
he fleeced the league.
He fleeced them, and thinking about it now, how much $1 million is worth then versus now. I mean,
well, no, he wasn't originally going to be getting that much. I forget how much the contract was going to be, but
it was something like $5 or $6 million.
But
they turned it into $35 million
because they put an interest rate on it. They put an interest rate on it. Said, all right, whatever it accrues at and goes down the line with whatever the currency is, then you'll get whatever money that is, and that's what the 1.9 million turned in, 1.19 rather million turned into. And he's 58 now at this point. He's going to be getting paid till he's 72. I mean, I was looking it up. So he's getting paid until 2035. We're going to be in our mid 30s, probably have families by this point. Like, yeah, John, we know. But it's going to be like we're going to be like 34 by this time. And this guy's still going to be making, $1.19 million a year. I mean, that's like the best financial investment I think of all time. I mean, I was looking up some other, kind of things like that as well. I know Manny Ramirez, I think, is getting paid till 2028 by the Boston Red Sox. I guess Kevin Garnett he's still getting paid $5 million a year by the Celtics. I think this upcoming season will be the last year that we actually pay him $5 million. But these things have existed. But I think just looking at the whole, if for anyone who knows the whole Bobby Bonilla thing of him kind of, having problems with the Mets front office and different aspects like that. I think all like the controversy that happened there, it, created so many just different problems. It, really just turned into like a spectacle. And I think that's why Bobby Bonilla Day is like so, well recognized around the MLB at this point.
Well, Bernie Madoff
Yeah,
swindled people out of
that
money
too.
in New York.
Yeah, that too.
He ended up in jail. Bobby Bonilla swindled people out of money in New York, and he gets his own day for it. Steve Cohen wants to have a whole celebration.
Yeah, did you hear about that?
Bernie Madoff sat in an office all day, and he ended up in jail. Bobby Bonilla is getting a day where he gets this whole celebration by playing baseball for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Bonilla really made out well in life. Some way, somehow, he won a World Series. He got MVP votes. He went to some All-Star games. He played 2 years in New York, and he's getting paid until he's retired. Everybody else that he went to high school with is going to be retired.
Mm-hmm.
He retired at 40.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's insane. Like Bobby Bonilla, he literally fleeced the league. I mean, it was insane what he did. I was watching the Rich Eisen show, and he was talking about things that have happened since or things that were happening on the day that Bobby Bonilla last played, professional baseball. On the day that he last played, on the day that he last, took a at bat in the league. I guess he was on the Cardinals at this point, and he ended up striking out swing. Wasn't on the playoff roster with them. Didn't end up getting into a game. But he ended up striking out in his last at bat. And on that same day, Ricky Henderson got his 3,000th hit. Barry Bonds hit his 73rd home run. Tom Brady made his second career start in the NFL. And I forget what it was. I think that there was some sort of a game. I think the Seattle Mariners, they were going for their league leading 117th win at the time. But they ended up losing. I forget exactly who they lost to, but the winning pitcher that ended up beating the Mariners that day was Pat Mahomes Sr.
Doesn't life come full circle sometimes?
It really does.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Pat Mahomes Sr. was starting the last time Pat Mahomes' dad was playing professional sports the last time that, Bobby Bonilla was the last playing in the MLB. It's
too, and especially all the milestones that happened.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And Bobby Bonilla's contract, am I right about this, will outlast Pat Mahomes' current mega deal.
It'll outlast Pat Mahomes' deal. It'll outlast Bryce Harper's deal.
It's insane.
It's actually insane.
Bryce Harper also. What a steal.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean,
Bryce
it's been.
Harper, not for the organization.
Oh, no, Bryce Harper fleeced the Phillies.
See, the Phillies always seem to have a team that could win 90 games, but they're never going to go much farther.
I mean,
And then they never go that far.
I mean,
they always maybe get 500. Never enough to get a good draft pick. Never enough to make the playoffs. They're always in the middle in baseball purgatory, and I can't imagine how maddening that must be for Phillies fans.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I'm trying to think. I don't remember what it was, but I know Bobby Bonilla, I guess he's getting his own I guess Steve Cohen, I think he was trying to make a day where he was going to like sign off all, like he was actually just going to give him a big ass check and just say like, hey, Bobby, just take this. You'll be all good. Like, we're not going to do this whole thing anymore. I guess that didn't end up happening. But I guess, Steve Cohen, I guess they're doing like this Airbnb event where he's going to come out there and so he's getting more money from the Mets. It's absurd.
Well, and he's got 15 years left to do the whole day of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Cohen is one of the best things to happen to
Yeah.
any team in a long while. The Mets are all of a sudden winning when he buys them, and they're set up. They have an owner that's willing to win. They can be competitors for a long while if Cohen stays with this kind of enthusiasm and has the world at his fingertips.
Yeah, and sticking with the Phillies too, I also wanted to say, I remember I don't know if he's still employed with the team after some of the things that happened with the organization, but it was the Phillies GM at the time, and he ended up coming out and said like in terms of free agency, oh, we're gonna go out there, we're gonna spend stupid money, and he proceeded maybe not to spend stupid money, but he spent money stupidly, and
he did spend stupid money.
Yeah,
but he spent stupid money stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it really just kind of. Now, I mean, for what it's worth, maybe the Bryce contract will work itself out. Not like not by the 13th year, it's not going to be worth it. But if if the Phillies can get a decent enough team around him, maybe it will turn into something. But
I don't know. Bryce is he's super streaky.
Yeah,
and that's part of the problem too. I could give $300 million to Bryce Harper, I could give $300 million to Quentin Berry. There's going to be zero difference if I don't win a World Series with either of them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you pay these long-term deals, you want to win up front. I remember reading an article a while ago about Max Scherzer, his 7-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about 5 years in at this point. Obviously, it's almost completed. He continues to compete at the highest level. This deal was 100% worth it, especially if they trade him at the trade deadline and get a few things back for him. The deal was worth it. He won 2 Cy Youngs. He threw 2 no-hitters. He won a World Series.
They got everything they wanted out of him.
Ideally,
And they got everything they wanted out of him in the first 4 or 5 years. It was already worth it, which is because they won and he played well in the first 4 or 5 years of contract.
Mm-hmm.
That's out of 7. That is probably the best big time contract of all time.
Yeah.
In any sport ever. We are 2 or 3 years into Bryce Harper's new deal. I think this is year number 3. And we have nothing to show for it.
Mm-hmm.
By this point in Max Scherzer's deal, Max Scherzer had 2 Cy Youngs, had gone to the playoffs twice. We were 2 years away from a World Series championship. He had thrown 2 no-hitters. Bryce Harper has 0 MVP awards. Bryce Harper has 0 All-Star game appearances, if I'm correct. Bryce Harper has 0 trips to the playoffs and 0 World Series rings. And it doesn't look like that's changing anytime soon. And these are supposed to be the prime years of the deal for him and for the competition of the Phillies. And it's not happening. And this might be one of the worst deals of all time. Not even Harper's fault. They didn't capitalize on anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Going off the Max Scherzer thing too. I mean, I remember when he signed with the Nationals, and I remember just like looking at him in that red jersey, and I was like, this is never gonna look right. I'll always think of him as a Tiger, but now I can't think of him as anything but a Washington National. And it's the hat he's gonna wear going into the Hall of Fame.
exactly.
Like,
he made it his.
It turned from a thing of being like, oh, like I doubt he'll ever be able to be what he was in Detroit, to being like, no, Max Scherzer will be remembered, across MLB as a national first. Like that is what he's going to be remembered at, no matter where he goes at the trade deadline, no matter what he really does after that. Max Scherzer is going to be remembered as a national, kind of like how Albert Pujols is always remembered as a Cardinal, how whoever is remembered as that guy. It doesn't matter that he signed there and did whatever. He made such an impact there that he's just going to be associated with that organization for all time.
I agree.
In some way, somehow, everything went right, and that's a beautiful thing. And that's so rare, but it's so amazing to watch when it happens. And we just got to watch it happen.
No, it was amazing to see. Now, that concludes what we have in MLB news. It was a pretty solid MLB segment. Really quickly, and some other things that I wanted to get into. John, this kind of applies to you because you are a Division III college athlete.
I am.
Yeah. And it did just come down the other day, effective, yesterday. The NCAA is now allowing players to make money off name, image, and likeness, the NIL. With that, how do you feel about this decision coming down?
Long overdue.
Yeah.
I think personally, more so for the D1 athletes. Like I think Joe Burrow put it in a perfect way when Joe was like saying how he's like, it's perfect because like he knew some players on Clemson who needed to like still work and still do that and still carry the entire D1 likeness and image. And I mean, you're playing football and that's a lot, and you're going to school for free, which is more than a lot of people can say. You're also just competing at the highest level, and you're playing against talent that is and will be professional. So I mean, there's a lot going for you there, but I also think they should have been able to a long time ago, because honestly, I don't see why they're withholding it in the first place.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'll let Pat take it in a sec. When it came to name, image, and likeness, I was always kind of the opinion that, in terms of college athletes making money, this has always been like, the great debate for a long time. In terms of like it being like, oh, like Joe Burrow is going to make like, whatever his contract is going to be. Oh, Joe Burrow is going to make $500,000 as a player, like that he'll be able to take to the bank, do whatever he wants with. I was always kind of iffy with that because of just, what they're getting in terms of going to college already and just the scholarships and everything that had to, be associated with it. But whenever I would hear, and I would always kind of be like, what, they are amateur athletes. There is that aspect. But then when a player, would, go out on a team dinner, or like some guy, or, some player's parent was sick back home and needed to go home, and someone said, hey, I'll pay for your plane ticket. And then that got them suspended. That always pushed me in the area of just being like the NCAA always kind of like, just have a clue with that. Just know that, there are real life things that come into play, and it's, we're not giving you a Maserati. Like if we're giving you a plane ticket home to go see your sick relative, there's, probably a reason for it. And it's probably because you can't pay for it. And I always thought, those reasons, it makes sense. Like, for simple things like that, it's basic decency. When it comes to name, image, and likeness, I find it really interesting because, in the era of social media and marketing and everything that comes with it, name, image, and likeness, it isn't a specific amount that comes on a check. You're able to, by your play on the field and by what kind of a person you are and by, the way you portray yourself, the amount of money you can make from it is almost kind of infinite. Like if you go out there and you are a very positive person and you are also just electric on the field, it doesn't matter what division you're going to be, because, if you're making great content and doing whatever, who anyone's going to want to sign you, and it could that'll help you going down the road. So while I wasn't always in favor of being like, hey, here's our contract, this is what you're going to sign, when it comes to like, hey, if this company wants to sponsor you, if you want to be on this video game cover, and we're going to, and other companies are going to give you that money for it, I think that's a great idea.
I just want to know if this applies to me as a Division I intramural volleyball player. I typically agree. When you're on the field, you are an amateur. You are playing for a college. You should not be paid gate receipts or anything. But if you're going to sign a football for an auction, you should be able to get some of the money at that auction.
Absolutely.
Johnny Manziel got suspended for doing that exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because I think there's a difference between you can get your college paid for you. So if you're in the NFL or the NBA and you have to go for a year, that you get paid $50,000 that year. Now, if you're never going to play in the pros, you get a pretty good steal. You go to college for free. My cousin did that at UConn. He was on the football team, never touched the field, but he never paid a dime to go to college. He made out great. But any of his teammates that tried to go on to the NFL, I mean, the NFL and the NBA both regulate that you have to spend a year at college or some lesser league before you can enter our draft. For somebody like Jack Leiter, in baseball, this might not apply because you could get drafted out of high school. But if you're talking about somebody like Joe Burrows or Trevor Lawrence or anybody in college, we saw the whole thing with the Ball brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You're losing out on a lot of money, and that $50,000 goes a long way if you're only planning on going to college and entering the real world in some normal profession. If you're planning on going pro, you're losing out on potentially millions of dollars for that year. I mean, small rookie contracts, $4 or $5 million a year for 1 year. So that's $4 or $5 million that you lost and you got back because of a $50,000 scholarship. That isn't fair. And if you're going to sign a ball, or you want to accept a gift, or you want to do anything like that in your own time, it's your image, it's your name, it's your likeness. It's nobody else's control but yours, or else,
Or at least now it is.
It ought to be.
It is
and now
yeah.
It officially is, and it's although NCAA players will not get gate receipts, as they should not, they will be able to profit off their likeness, and that's good, and then that's a long time coming.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really in favor of it. I think I think that, just in terms of what it can do, the possibilities are exponential. I think this is actually, a good thing for the NCAA, because, you were seeing in NCAA basketball, more and more players, you can't get drafted out of high school because of the one and done rule, where you do have to participate in a year of college. Even though you look at Ben Simmons, he carried the minimum possible GPA to be academically eligible, and as soon as his season was over, he did not go to a single class again. So, the guy, it's for what it is. It really isn't like, the whole one and done rule. It's like, if you're taking away your freshman year of college, like if you took your freshman year of college and it's like, do you now feel like you're ready to enter the world with that amount of knowledge as compared to, what you think you're going to learn there? I mean, sure, that stuff helps, but a lot of that stuff freshman year anyways is just kind of gen ed stuff. It's not really anything applied to a certain category.
But it's also the risk of injury.
Mm-hmm.
Tua, we talked about him earlier. He got hurt in college. He wasn't making any money when he got hurt in college.
No.
He may have gotten hurt in the pros. He may not have. But at the very least, he'd be making millions of dollars while he did it that he wasn't in real life.
I'm sorry, I don't know the name of this guy, but there's a similar situation where this guy ended up getting hurt on a football team. I forget which one, and they ended up pulling a scholarship. So he had to pay for tuition and everything, and he didn't have that money, so he had to end up dropping out of college. It was a couple of months ago, but yeah, same similar situation. He really couldn't use his name or likeness or anything to try and pull any bills. So I mean, yeah, it's very interesting. So there's a lot of injury. I think this also opens up for the fact of players staying longer in college to, really chase and make it a little more competitive in the atmosphere.
Which I actually wouldn't mind because Michael Jordan played 3 years at North Carolina. Like, like back then, guys like stayed, and guys were actually it was like, hey, this is my school. I'm coming back for another year, and like if a guy came back for his third year of college or even his fourth year, guys were clamoring. It was like, let's go, let's go. Now you really only kind of see that at like lower D1 levels and at the other divisions as well, because at that point people are usually going for the degree at that point. Uh, John, we were talking about you being a D3 athlete, and this actually applies for all the divisions too. One of the things I was kind of seeing going on though, it looks like this is, kind of the first, real thing that I was, seeing go towards this. Barstool Sports, usually you have the Barstool Sports flag hanging up here. It's, just over on a chair over there right now. But, in the spirit of 4th of July, we hung up the American flag. But Barstool Sports, they ended up unveiling this new program. It actually wasn't even started by Dave Portnoy. It was started by just some random person who DM'd him. And I think she's a volleyball player from Jacksonville State, and she just DM'd Dave Portnoy and said, hey, can I be the first ever Barstool athlete? And Dave goes, yeah, sure. I have no idea what that means, but let's do it. And she said, perfect. And he ends up going, well, what do you want us to do? And she said, I don't know, give us some free merch, and we'll just like say that we're Barstool athletes. And he goes, perfect. And it's taken off ever since. And we were looking at Dave Portnoy's Instagram story. Local guys from around here, Sean Burke, pitcher out of Maryland, who he's now going to be on there. He might be a first round pick in the MLB draft. And this is now just turning into a thing where it's like, hey, I can now make money off my name, image, and likeness. I might be able to get some free merch, some free stuff like this. And I think that's a great opportunity. John, you kind of had a funny story about that, but before we get into it, I'll have Pat kind of say his piece.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and then I think this feeds kind of right into it. I don't know why the NCAA would have that big of a problem, anyways. Because if you want to talk about the MLB not marketing players correctly, another thing that the MLB doesn't do as well is Steph Curry has this show that he created. He's on that. Kevin Durant's constantly a businessman. Aaron Rodgers and Pat Mahomes are doing Subway commercials or State Farm commercials. All these different things. Peyton Manning with Nationwide. Why would you not have? Why would you have a problem with players using their likeness like this? Wouldn't that draw in more people if somebody who wouldn't watch the NCAA otherwise sees this guy on TikTok or that guy on YouTube
Oh my
or
God.
this guy on Barstool?
Oh my God, it's Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
Like when he was at Duke. It's, oh my God, it's like whoever. Oh my God, it's this guy.
I'm on a Barstool site and I'm a big pro football fan, but I don't really watch college football. But I see this guy in a Barstool video. Now I want to watch his game. I'm scrolling on TikTok and I don't really care about sports, but this guy is funny. So I'm gonna tune into his basketball game next week. All of a sudden you're getting more viewers from other platforms and you can combine it. This is how leagues grow. We see this with the NBA, we see this with the NFL. This is what we complain about the MLB not doing. Now the NCAA has a chance to get ahead on this. I don't know why they would have a problem with that.
Yeah, going off the content thing, you were kind of seeing this with destroying that he was a kicker over at Florida State. A lot of people think that he could be a kicker, at least if not in the NFL, at least in some other semi-pro leagues like the CFL, some stuff like that. He was making YouTube money and like revenue like that because he had enough subscribers to where like. And at that point, it was kind of little subscribers to where he wasn't even getting that much money. But at that point, any amount of money was like doing the job. And the NCAA said, hey, you either need to stop your YouTube channel or or you're going to be kicked off the team. And he said, all right, I'm going to just drop off the team. And luckily for him, the YouTube ended up picking up really well. And I think enough people supported him. He has like well over 1 million or so subscribers at this point. And it really has worked out for him. But imagine if he was able to do that and be the kicker at Florida State. As a kicker, you see how the Pat McAfee show goes now, where you have a punter who has revolutionized, podcasting and everything like that. If you had had a kicker, be this electric kind of star for Florida State and really do his thing, that would have been a game changer. John and John, I did want to get on to you because You had a funny story about this. One of your fellow teammates, even though Dave Portnoy was only saying originally he was going to be taking D1 athletes to, be involved with the whole Barstool, athlete program. It looks like that, one of your friends did reach out to him, and Dave actually replied.
Yeah, so Dave Portnoy ended up replying and said, didn't know I need one till now on my friend's application. So that proceeded to me ended up responding to the tweets, asking if I could join, sending him, I think, 2 DMs, one on Instagram and one on Twitter. And then I also emailed the office saying, hey, I'm John Warren. I'm an athlete. Sign me up. I want free stuff. And I said, I would love to be an athlete, willing to do whatever it takes. Appreciate you doing this. And this is a good step for the boys. Go Bucks. And it's also kind of cool. So funny thing, me and my cousin, he plays at Wesleyan, are in the same football conference as Billy Football was. So ironically, that was my cousin.
The greatest football player of all time.
Yeah. So ironically, I didn't end up playing him because he graduated before I could. But yeah, so I mean, it's pretty funny. He's going to Wesleyan. That was his move, saying, "Ask Billy Football. We have the greatest conference in football."
They named the sport after Billy Football.
But yeah, so it was pretty funny, and it was a great time. So I mean, can't really complain.
Mhm. But
yeah,
I mean, but all in all, your friend, he's like a D3 center, and he reached out and, was able to,
yeah, it was pretty funny.
really
And then another shop, a hot dog shop, reached out to him following that. He's gained a lot of traction. It's pretty great.
That's actually really funny. So, I mean, it's worked out well for him. I hope it works out well for all the other athletes. But, the next topic I wanted to get into, kind of quickly was the NBA. The NBA finals, at least half of them are set right now. The Phoenix Suns, did make it there. Chris Paul has a chance to get his first ever ring. I really hope he does get it, because, he deserves it. It's been long enough for him. I mean, 16 years in the league. He's grinded, and
coach too that he came into the league with.
Yeah, it's the same coach too with New Orleans, and I think of all the guys that deserve a ring at this point, it's him. I really hope he does get it. But out of the East, it's currently Bucks, Hawks. Injuries have just killed guys in the playoffs so far this year. I mean, Giannis left the previous game, and the Bucks were without him for this game, and the Bucks ended up winning. They beat the Trae Youngless Hawks, and the series is currently 3-2 Milwaukee. If they win their next game, they will advance to their first NBA Finals since 1994. So, that would be great for them if they get to go back there and really shine over there. But John, I did want to touch on with you real quick. I don't think I've had a chance to talk with you about it. I put out the clip of you predicting that the Atlanta Hawks were going to make the playoffs. A year before they did. Now, this was for the 2020 season.
Damn right, I put out that clip.
Now, listen. When
you were wrong
originally. Now look at everyone. Hey man,
I put out that
Go Hawks for the culture.
I put out that clip because I was just like, it was so out there of a take, and like just remembering back on it, that was probably the first kind of like just viral kind of classic clip that we ever had from the show. I remember people were just like, the freaking Hawks, John, what is wrong with you?
Yeah,
and like I remember just like you didn't actually know my friends at that point that well. Like, you had met Tyler, but I don't think you had met Carter. And like we were talking with it, and you end up saying the Hawks. I wanted to snap at you so bad and just be like, John, what the hell are you talking about? And like say it on air, but I didn't want to come across them where they're going to be like, geez, like Brian's losing it at John right now and like do that. But all in all, it worked itself out really well. And,
it should.
It came true in a sense later on. It really did. But with the series right now, it's currently 3-2 Bucks. Do you think they're going to take it, or do you think Atlanta's still got a shot here?
I think the Bucks close it out. I think the Bucks have a little bit more depth and a little bit more experience. But I think Atlanta keeps it close. But it's kind of tough because Trae Young's out right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really looking at Bogdanovich, you're looking at Lou Williams, and you're looking at, what's the redhead name?
Herder.
You're looking at those three to really just step it up and carry. While on the Bucks, you got Chris Middleton, who was an all-star a couple years ago. You have Drew Holiday, who's great, and you also have I forget. There's this one guy's name I keep forgetting. He was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you have those three guys. So I mean, It's really interesting to see. I mean, I think the Bucks are going to walk away with it, and that would be a great matchup because I would love for Giannis to win a ring eventually. I think his story into the NBA is incredible, especially how he literally came from nothing and
Mhm.
now here he is playing a sport he really didn't play too much and everything. I think that's great. I think that would be good for the league for him to win. But at the same time, I think Chris Paul and the Suns will win it because they have the better team. But that doesn't go to say that this is a really great step for the Bucks organization.
It's going to be a really great finals matchup, no matter who really makes it. But Pat, I know that you've kind of talked about the whole. I'm pretty sure Bucks Suns is your kind of ideal play finals matchup for a couple of reasons.
I'm just disappointed about the Bucks Hawks series because this is kind of like watching an NBA Finals where the Celtics are without Larry Bird and the Lakers are without Magic Johnson. Doesn't have the same kind of flair with Giannis and Trey Young out. But yeah, Section 10, the Section 10 podcast on Barstool. They're a pretty small podcast. Might not have heard of them. Check them out. Their big Suns podcast.
If anyone couldn't tell, that was irony for Pat. You can sometimes come across dry. So when it's not on audio, I do want people to know that you are being ironic. The Section 10 is a pretty big Red Sox podcast, but
they're also a pretty big Suns podcast.
Yes,
and Suns out, guns out, and they're looking really forward to seeing Phoenix in the finals. And Aaron Rodgers owns part of the Milwaukee Bucks, so he could win a ring in a second sport and put the conversation to bed about anybody else having a chance of being the GOAT. So I think that'd be a fun finals for me. I think everybody else around me would be extremely annoyed, but it would be a fantastic week to be Pat if that were to happen.
Here's the thing, Pat. If you're actually counting the Bucks World Championship towards Aaron Rodgers' ring total, just saying with Brady having 7 and all these other guys having a certain
Oh,
number
I'm
of
not.
rings. Okay,
He's already the GOAT. But like this would just put the conversation to rest.
You annoy me so much.
See that NBA ring? Does Tom Brady have an NBA ring, Brian? That's what I thought. Packers in 6.
He has 7 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, on more than any team in NFL history.
Anyways,
Anyways, kind of actually staying with Aaron Rodgers though, I did want to get onto this. In PGA news, the match for by the time we do our next episode, it might have already happened. But Aaron Rodgers we will be seeing him again. We don't know what team he'll be quarterbacking next year, but the next athletic competition he will be in is the charity golf tournament. Capital One's the match 4, and it will be Aaron Rodgers and Bryson DeChambeau against Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson. It's taking place on July 6th. So, I'm the match 1. I think we were all here for it. I think it was around like Thanksgiving weekend, whenever it happened, like back in like 2018 or so, and it was actually pretty entertaining. Unfortunately, it did end in a draw, so it kind of was very anticlimactic. The match 2 was actually a lot of fun too, because it was Brady and Manning and Tiger and Phil at the time. Tiger, I think, unfortunately due to his car crash and everything going on there. I think it would have been Tiger here, but I think just due to those circumstances, it's not. The match 2 was really entertaining. One, because it was like the only thing going on during COVID. It was a rainy day, anyways, and people were just like, "All right, there's finally sports again on TV. It's entertaining because it's star-studded. It's not like we're watching just like we're not watching amateur spike ball on ESPN. We're not watching like it. Like I remember things got so bad during COVID that ESPN literally started playing NBA 2K simulation games, and I was like, "This is pathetic." Like that, you're guys like this is like all you guys have to put on the TV. Like this is really bad. And I remember this stuff was all going on the TV, and finally something real came back, and it was like whenever it happened. I think it was like April or May when it came on, and everyone was super psyched about it. And it really, it was a really great thing to see. The match 3 really didn't have the same flair. I know Steph Curry, I believe, was in it, and I think Charles Barkley showed up. And I thought that was just going to be a joke, but I guess Charles Barkley actually kind of fixed his golf swing.
Not really, but yeah.
Well, compared to what it was during the match 2, I guess like he actually did get some lessons, and it was a little bit better. But the match 4, you're getting Brady back. You're getting instead of Manning here, you're getting Aaron Rodgers in. I'm pretty excited for this matchup. I think that, for the star-studdedness of all of it, it's going to be a good time. Now, of it taking place on a Tuesday in the middle of the week, I don't think it's the best timing for it. I think maybe you should have tried to center around a weekend. Now I know McGregor Poirier will be happening that next weekend. I know there are some events happening on the weekend, but I wish that they had positioned it later in the week. But all in all, I think it will be a good matchup no matter what.
Oh, wouldn't it be great if Aaron Rodgers wins in a third sport, Brian, and then now Tom Brady doesn't have his defense or a kicker to bail him out. The league can't fix any calls towards him.
Did you see Brady hold that? Did you see Brady hold that shot out from 120 out?
Brian,
did you see that shot? That was that was one of the better golf shots I've ever seen, Pat.
Brian, driving a golf ball into a hole-in-one is just like throwing.
It wasn't a hole-in-one. I mean, it wasn't a hole-in-one.
Driving a golf ball into a hole-in-one is just like throwing a Hail Mary, and nobody does it better than Aaron Rodgers, Brian. And I know your blood is boiling, and that's
golf
isn't
even Tom Brady's sport, and he dominated in it. Now, it took him a while to get started.
Brian, golf isn't Aaron Rodgers' sport either. It's football, but golf is Phil Mickelson and Bryson DeChambeau sports.
And Aaron Rodgers has gotten a lot of practice as it because he gets out of the playoffs real nice and early. Tom Brady has to battle in it all that way through, and unfortunately, he can't get out on the course as much.
And he won't have a kicker on the golf course, Brian.
Yeah, he also won't have Kevin King either.
I kind of just let them do their thing for a little bit in case anyone was wondering back home. So yeah. Anyways, I mean, it should be a great time. I'm really excited to watch it. It's always fun to see the athletes just go out there and try something, even if it's not their own sport. Two great athletes, so should be fun.
No, all in all, it's going to be a fun time. Now, I mean, I was going to make I think, the last time you were on the show, we talked about Phil Mickelson and what he's doing at the age of 50. That's absurd as well. There's a lot of storylines going into it. I know that, as well, Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka were, kind of going at each other here. I don't know the history behind that, but that really kind of became its own thing. That really was interesting. There's a lot of kind of things going on there. So I will be interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, should be fun. Yeah. What else? I mean, it's pretty much it, right?
With regards to that, my closing statement is: you have Aaron Rodgers, you have Tom Brady, you have two guys that are in the GOAT conversation in one sport. You have Phil Mickelson, who just became the oldest
player ever to win a
major. And you have Bryson DeChambeau, who's a rising star, and he seems to always be in the headlines now with the PGA. Barring anything with Tiger, out of everybody available, I think you got the four perfect guys for this, and it should be exciting to watch.
I agree. But with that being said, I think it is time to say that we are now down to the wire, which means that we're going to do a little rapid fire of everything we kind of talked about in this episode, and we'll let you guys get started on your 4th of July weekend. Obviously, we welcomed Pat and John into the show. We thank you guys so much for coming on. It was a great time.
Thanks for having us, Brian.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Long awaited to have us all together.
Yeah, it was long awaited, and I hope that we can do this again sometime. But we started things off talking about our experience of going to Polar Park with each other all for the first time. Check that out. It was a really fun time. I mean, I remember afterwards, me and John, we went over to the Turtle Boy statue, and we ran into those fun chaps. It was quite the time over there. John, was there anything you wanted to say on that?
I don't promote underage drinking.
Yeah, I don't either. Those kids were, yep.
They were having a good time.
They were having a great time. But we talked about, Jaron Duran and how he was tearing things up down there. We want to get him up in Boston as soon as possible. We talked about missing McCoy Stadium and unfortunately, RIP to the Paw Sox. We talked about Xander and Rafi Devers making it to the 2021 All-Star game. They're going to be starting in the infield for the American League. We talked about Kyle Schwarber making headlines for having an insane month of June. I mean, absurd numbers there. We mentioned those during the show to you guys. We talked about other storylines that really aren't getting covered that much in the MLB, such as Sandy Alcantara, Trey Mancini, just to name a few. We celebrated a belated Bobby Bonilla Day, as well as talking about players in the NCAA now being allowed to make now being able to make money off name, image, and likeness. We talked about the Barstool athlete program and everything that entails. Hopefully John is a Barstool athlete sooner than later. If I see Barstool athlete in your bio, I'm I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Celebrate.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like just embrace it. Like accept the fact that times are changing and John is sponsored.
And
Give it up to the man.
And then after that, we ended up, I'll give it up to you, John. But then after that, we ended the show kind of talking about the Eastern Conference Finals with Giannis-less Bucks beating a Trae Young-less Hawks. Talked about the potential finals matchup of Bucks Hawks that really intrigues Pat over there. And we ended talking about Capital One's the match 4. All in all, it was a great time on the show today. We'll be back next week with more down to the wire. But if you're not following us yet on social media, what the hell are you guys doing? You guys can follow us on all platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. But the main hub to reach us through is our Instagram. You can follow that at down.to-the-wire. Again, at down.to-the-wire. But from Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Pat Edwards.
And I'm John Warren. Please sponsor me, Barstool Sports.
And we hope you guys have an amazing 4th of July weekend. Take care. Britain, you can go suck it.